Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weekend Conversations. I'm sure that today's weekend conversation is going to be an interesting one, and many of you will agree with my observations. And yes, there will be some of you who may not agree, but that's the whole intent of these weekend conversations that we have real conversations and discussions around some points which are very important. Now, we saw what happened in the past around 40 days since February 28th, and which again triggered this very important thought that we need to be self sustainable, we need to be self reliant, and we need to have probably a greater control on several things, including the value chain. My interaction or my first, I would say, exposure to a deeper discussion in the entire, I would say, value chain of manufacturing in electronics goes back to 2010, 2011 era, when back then, under the auspice of uh, Office of Principal Scientific Advisor, there used to be a Carroll committee which worked on, so to say, R&D and indigenization of six uh, high volume consumer electronics products, which of course include smartphones, set top boxes, tablets, so on and so forth. Ever since, this question has been bugging me, that why aren't we able to create great electronics brands in India, or brands which they then do not sustain? Look for instance at Apple. Apple just concluded or celebrated its 50 years, and what a remarkable journey. But if we try to draw parallels, there were many brands which probably existed back then, or in due course of time, uh, sprouted in the country, but today they no longer exist, or their presence is just minimal. It's, sorry to say, ignorable. On the TV side, we used to have Videocon. We still have Onida, but it's very very minimal. On refrigerator side, we had Calvinator, we had Godrej. They exist, but somewhere down the dungeon. On ACs, we had Voltus. We still have Voltus, but again, not really among the leading brands out there. In mobile phone, we had these milk brands, Micromax, Intex, Lava Carbon. Lava still out there, but others have chosen to become maybe contract manufacturers for other brands. So, what is this issue that over a period of time we don't see an electronic brand really sustaining in the country? There are very, I would say, facilitating policies out there, very great schemes out there, but eventually we don't see them yielding much over a period of time. There could be many reasons to it, and honestly, there are many reasons. It's not just one factor responsible for this. Now, what I'm sharing today is my observation, my analysis, my discourse with several people over these 10, 15 years on this topic. Yes, probably one of the reasons is that we are not very good marketeers. We don't believe in brand building, uh, especially in this side. And that is something which needs to be addressed for sure. Brand building is very weak in the country. Uh, we are not very good storytellers when it comes to brands. That's of course a missing point. And nowadays it's very important. We cannot create really great brands, sustainable brands, if we are not great storytellers. So that, of course, is an issue. But when I look at electronics very minutely, I think what restricts us is what I would like to call, uh, innovation by constraints or innovation by limitations. And here, I'm not referring to, constraints or, restrictions in terms of availability of resources. It's not about money. It's about our thought process. uh, we have been always talking about we should think out of box, we should think out of box, but I believe for us we should act out of box. That's very important. Now I'll explain what I mean by this. you know look at the entire ecosystem. Go to investor and tell investor that, okay, I want to do something like this. uh, but investor is not open to really become a venture capitalist, or show those kind of characteristics. It's like, okay, I am comfortable with this, I can only invest in this. And that's where we see sometimes software services, they're taking a lead. Go to incubators. Incubators also will tell you, we are comfortable in a particular thing, we will only support you here. We can't understand what you're telling, so we are not really going to maybe take those extra efforts to understand what you're trying to innovate, uh, and see how possibly we can help you. Rather, what we are going to do, we can only understand this much. If you are ready to innovate within this, happy to do that. So on and so forth. I think there are examples across. Now, this is a big limitation we have when we try to, kind of think of creating a thriving innovation centric ecosystem, or innovation driven, innovation led society. How can we really develop it then, if we are, uh, having this kind of mindset, this kind of, pattern in our approach? This needs to really change. Just look at the innovations of the past globally. Now imagine, somebody, say Thomas Edison, going to an incubator or going to his university or professors and telling them, hey, I need some help because I am thinking that I can, innovate electricity, or I can invent electricity. Now, if they would have told him that, hey, we can't understand your idea, and we can only, help you with what we understand, uh, we probably electricity would not have been there. So there, innovation is a breakthrough. Innovation is a breakthrough, and it will happen that many a times innovators, you call them startups now, or many of they can also be called innovators at times. uh, Founders, they will come with ideas which don't exist. Okay, they will come with something which doesn't exist, for which everybody has to put in efforts. Even mentors, professors, investors, everyone in the ecosystem, policymakers, everyone has to put in that effort. Yes, there has to be an evaluation of the idea to some level, that whether this idea is doable, whether it's making sense, or it's really eccentric idea. Uh, Once that kind of, I would say, due diligence is done, I think after that, there has to be a system, or there has to be a mindset where you give that fair chance uh, to an innovator who is thinking of an invention, which is really, breaking these barriers. Now, if I go back to, some of the problems, for instance, look at this smartphone industry. For India, it is very important to have even 1000 rupees smartphone. Very, very important, very critical. If we really want to create a digital society, every hand should have a smartphone. And we cannot do a smartphone of 5,000, 10,000. It cannot happen with that. And look at how it has, the thresholds have changed over the past just 5-10 years. You could get a latest cellular generation phone 10 years back at 6,000 rupees. Today, it's difficult to get it at 10,000, even 15,000 rupees. And if the prices of memory and other components go the way they are, it may be even difficult to get a 20,000 rupees phone very soon, a 20,000 rupees 5G phone. So the point is that Our problem is, if we look at this problem statement, we want to have a 1000 rupees latest cellular generation smartphone. Are we doing anything on it? No, because we say we can't do it. Go to anyone, you'll say, no, there are supply chain issues. Supply chain is controlled by someone. You can't get a chipset for this. You can't get, there are hundreds of issues. Now, that is what an innovator has to solve. That is what a startup solves. That is how, you make great companies. So this, mindset of innovating by limitations, that, okay, we are ready to support you, but we'll support you only to the extent that we understand our limitation. This has to go. This has to really go if we need to uh, create companies, get really path-breaking innovations, make some great inventions, and really, drive forward things instead of becoming followers of what really exists. That is very critical if we got to make some meaningful contribution to the economy of India, to the society as a whole, and to the globe. That's what I had to share with you. Would love to hear your thoughts. What do you feel? Aren't we really innovating by this limitation, or there's something that's still missing out there? I would wait for your opinions, your feedback, and catch you next week. Till then, have a great time.